Detective Comics 966, and we have James Tynion IV writing, Eddie Barrows on art, and so
Before we get into this issue, can I just make a little thing from last issue because I wasn't here? But and it was just about
special treatment.
No,
Okay, on you go.
Just the overall thing is it's to do with the future Batman actually refers to the Batman of tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe you guys mentioned this, but it's the upcoming the Superman Super Sons crossover, and that was the Batman of tomorrow, and we kind of went, oh, it's going to be Damien. And I'm wondering,
if it's this guy.
Yeah, it could be. Although I don't. That feels like weird to have it in that story specifically. Then, since it seems like. But then again,
yeah, it was just the way they specifically said the Batman of tomorrow in both of them.
That's true. Well, we thought that was a reference to the old Titans of Tomorrow, which is playing it with.
Which this still kind of references.
It does. It does. So
man, I'm excited.
So if you've been following our show for a while, specifically since Superman Reborn,
yep,
you'll be aware of a running joke that we have on this show. Because in Superman Reborn, it kind of recapped the story of the death and return of Superman, and it did it was like 1 or 2 panels dedicated to the reign of the Supermen, the sort of replacements, which traditionally in the original story had 4, but in this retelling there was only 3. There was 1 missing. That one, of course, was some character that Matt made up in the last little while. But no, right. So the 4th one was
originally
Connor
the
Kent.
Metropolis Kid, Superboy. Yeah. Later, given Connor Kent.
Yeah,
as a proper
and then later on, of course, he became the Superboy that everyone kind of remembers with these T-shirt and jeans and all that jazz. So he was missing, and ever since then, because that annoyed Matt so much, ever since then, every time he's brought him up, I have jokingly went, "Who?" And I have played along with this idea that he never existed. I have played into the continuity. And we had this teased last week. We actually, I think it was the middle of the show last week where we got the tweet.
It was towards the end, the breaking news.
We heard that Tynion at New York Comic Con is implied that if you want to know about Connor Kent, the next issue 966, that's the one you want to be reading. And it's like, okay,
is that?
Okay, yeah. So lo and behold, I read this Detective Comics issue 966. And I don't think I could have ever predicted, and I'll basically be honest, I kind of want a co-writer credit for this issue.
At least a special thanks.
Yeah, because you get to a page later on in the issue where the older Tim, who's the Batman, the sort of the darker Batman from the future, he says to young Tim, or Tim from present day, he says, "And say sorry to Connor, that wound'll never heal, so heal it quick." And Tim, or young Tim, says, "Who the hell is Connor?" I don't think I've ever laughed as much in my life that I did at that page.
So, this is my first read of the week. Like, as soon as I got it, I could not wait, right? I got to that page and went, "Pete, let me know when you read Tech, please." And I imagined him having, in Home Alone 2, where Tim Curry finds out that the credit cards are stolen, and he has the smile that's like the Grinch. That's how I imagine Pete going, "Oh boy." But, it's just like the fact that since Reborn, I have been like, where's he at? This is BS. It's kind of been like it was Stephanie Brown and Wally West, kind of all over again. But we got them back in Rebirth. And so the fact that, I don't know if it was, if this is Tynion's plan all along, if this was from people like myself that are like, where's Connor? The fact that it was just even addressed was enough for me. Like, we can go another year without Connor, and I'm fine.
Obviously, there's a teaser.
Because it's...
At the start of the issue, we see a little bit of what this Dark Batman, Tim Batman future's like. Commissioner Renee Montoya's after him, and he's killing anarchy. And Connor calls him. He's the Superman in this team of Titans. So we get a little cameo there. And, I almost thought, oh, that was it. That was the mention that we were going to get. It was just this little tease that must be Connor.
Small question. This little opening segment, is this the same thing that we got in Batwoman?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt.
It's because it's the fact that he stepped foot on the Narrows to take out anarchy, and that broke the truce. So that's why they're coming after him.
And even just the fact that Batwoman issue said this story picks up in Detective Comics later. It was like...
I was just wondering, because obviously this was obviously it's a different timeline now, whereas the Batwoman one seemed like, okay, this could be our timeline in the future, whereas this one very clearly isn't.
Which just tells me that Batwoman timeline isn't our time. It's this timeline that this comes from, which I think is fascinating. But yeah, but then when he gets this, because we'll get to how they break out of the prison and all that, because they get out by the end, and that's when this scene happens where he mentions Connor. I think this works in a lot of ways. It works because we might not actually see him for a long time, maybe not until after Doomsday Clock or whatever, but the fact that it's been brought up in a way that's saying no, he did exist. This Tim remembers him, and our Tim doesn't. It reminds me a lot of Flash and Wally West, in Rebirth, where Barry didn't know who he was until he remembered that spark, and he's like, "Wait, Wally, I'm so sorry." Like, it almost feels that they're going to build to that at some point. It might be a year from now. It might be longer than that, but...
Yeah, but it's set Tim on the path now.
Yeah. The writers have not forgotten. And
throughout this issue, we find out that that's the reason why Tim was removed by Mr. Oz, was whether it was Tim in the future or Tim in the present, he's smart enough to piece things together. And... If he's out there, that's going to ruin whatever this, if it's Manhattan or whatever else, their plan for this Earth and how they built it from Rebirth up. So it was, everything worked together perfectly. Like, I didn't feel like this was just like gratuitous, just like, oh, hey, remember, the Teen Titans of the early 2000s? It actually has a meaning that Earth still is not right.
Yeah,
we have Wally back.
There's
still things that are off.
Yeah, it's still tying back into that. Someone's messed with time. Things have changed. They're still not fixed. Yeah, we have characters back, but even then, Wally still knows that time's been altered, and he's not quite the Wally he was. Like, we have all these things. This is hitting us back again. It's kind of nice timing, because it's like right before Doomsday Clock. This is, we're getting right to that story now. So here's a reminder. Here's things aren't still quite right. Here's another thing that might be fixed, along with the JSA, along with the Legion, along with all these things that have been missing. Like, this is something else that could be fixed.
I think it's just one of those things that says, yeah, look, when we left that out, it was intentional, because they've not even addressed it up to this point. And it was like, no, we know we left it out. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't just for the sake of it. There is a point to this.
I'll tell you this right now, Matt. The joke was, I was going to stop making my joke after this issue before I read it. But now it lives. Now it's been renewed for at least until he shows up, until he is back. This joke does not die.
Our in-joke has become DC continuity. Think about that. And now I'm not going to be as upset, because, again, they've addressed it.
He's got hope now.
Suddenly,
it was like
Tim Drake says, "Who the hell's Connor Kent?" and suddenly it's okay.
Yeah, of course. He's the best Robin. Like, come on. Yeah. But let's talk about the issue, too, because we get on that of... I didn't say the best of the Robins. I said he's the best Robin.
Just made it clear.
In that role. He's the best.
Yeah, so so the bulk of the issue in terms of action is just they're running away from Doomsday and blocking him behind doors and stuff.
And that gun, man. Like, that gun, like, this Batman of Tomorrow is the ultimate because Batman, but I buy it because it's Tim, and he explains it. He's just like, I knew I was never going to be a good fighter as Bruce or Damian or even Dick, so I've had to improvise in... Everyone on his suit is stuff that can take out anybody at any time. And I'm weirdly okay with it. Usually that's something I would yell about.
Yeah, I feel like this is some bias here. This is like, oh, it's not Bruce, so that I'll accept this easier. It really feels that way, Matt.
Like, him loading synthetic kryptonite into the gun, I was just like, who does that? Batman doesn't even do that.
I actually, obviously doesn't like guns, my favourite thing actually about this is young Tim actually... Him making the hologram of Superman to distract Doomsday to make him run away and chase that. I thought that was a fun little idea.
Yeah, and I like that the older Tim's like, I didn't even think of that. It's like, maybe we are a bit different.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Because I think at that point he theorizes that it's just because they've been trapped in this kind of outside of continuity world just now in this prison, that's why they've kind of changed a little bit. Like, that's created some differences.
And Tim talks about that. Older Tim, he's like, I remember when I was a little bit younger than you, I met an older version of myself, and it shook me to my core to change things. And I don't know if this is the same moment, but it's like an echo. So I like that they're playing with it in that way. Like, what you do in the present can change the future.
Yeah, that actually
Back to the Future.
That brings up the ending, because obviously after the Connor revelation, older Tim's like, wait, that can't be. We're from different timelines, and then he figures out, okay, things have changed, but am I still you? And then he cuts he cuts young Tim's arm, and then he looks at his own arm, he's got a scar. So it's still affecting him. But what he realizes is that time is fluctuating. Time is actually really, it's bendy right now. Like, it can be affected. And that's when he gets the idea to go after the person he blames for sending him on this path. He thinks he can get free of the life that he's led by killing Batwoman, of all things. So clearly that's where we're going. That's where we're going next issue. So that'll be a fascinating turn of events.
I'm down for this story. This is fantastic
I'm so down.
stuff.
It's Detective still is like one of my favorite DC books, month in, month out, like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel like
now it's
I was going through a bit of a lull where it was kind of going, this is good, but it wasn't like, oh, this is one of my favorite books like it was at the start.
Me too.
But now it's back up there.
Yeah, and they play with a lot of what Tim was going through at the beginning, how older Tim's like, yeah, you think that you're leaving, it's going to make things better, but turns out Batman really can't operate without you. And, all of your contingencies to him to work without you is what leads to you becoming me. And so I like that. Like, this whole hopeful life to get out of the superhero game is what leads him to become this ultra-fascist Batman,
it's resisting it that turns him to it, which I think is a fascinating
idea.
That theory. As I've made this complaint, I think, before about Detective. This is like my one problem with the book, is that, come on, does every single page need to be a double-page spread?
I thought I was reading it. But I will say, it seems really nice to have Barrows back on art. It's felt like it's been a long time since we've had him. And obviously he was so instrumental at the start of this book, in especially, that whole the faded faces thing that he does on the moments. And this issue is full of those moments.
That he does.
Yes. Although my one complaint with the art is what's going on with the Doomsday hair.
Yeah,
that's a sentence I never thought I'd hear anyone say. What's going on with the Doomsday hair?
Well, people forget that Doomsday has hair because they get all caught up on the scraggles, but it was always this long white hair.
Yeah, but it's the way it just stands out so vividly in this. It's the way it's lit, like the way it just.
So it sounds like it could be a colouring issue rather than a.
No.
I
mean, I'm looking at it now, and it looks weird, but I'm not getting hung up on it.
It's not on. The thing is, it wasn't on every time it came up. Like, sometimes you couldn't see it at all. Yeah, other times it was just like the focus. That first double spread where he comes after them and he's breaking through the wall or the floor or whatever that is. It just looks strange.
But yeah, so they escape Oz's realm, because through the whole vibrational thing, like we were talking about in Metal. Older Tim figures it out and gets them out of there. So, that's one part of this plan thwarted. Unless this is what.
Well, yeah, but
let's just say Manhattan.
As they point out,
wanted.
As they point out, though, they say that the only reason why Oz is letting this go is because they basically figure out whatever he's going to do, he's about to do it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they get out.
Stop it now.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, that's quite a good little foreboding thing as well. It's like, okay, well, things are going to get bad before they get better, because clearly things are about to go down. So
the other page I really loved is when future Tim was talking about why he became Batman, like why he ended up filling the role.
Oh, and he's talking about the other Robins and
and how good does Dick's Batman suit look with the blue?
It does look pretty cool. I also did enjoy the fact that Jason's missing a leg and an eye. That was fun.
Because of drug abuse, not because of like psycho ninjas. Because that dude just fell into a deep, dark hole, and that was the only thing he could fill it with.
It basically boiled down to, Jason's shit, don't worry about him.
Yeah.
Damien apparently nearly... I like how whenever, even in this timeline, which obviously is going to be changed, I love that Damien still has the same Damien Batman suit that he's had ever since Morrison had that first...
It's a cool suit, isn't it?
The old pointy shoulder suit.
And I like, too, in that, as like, he didn't try to be Batman. He's just like, he let everybody else try to be Batman. And, even Damien was Batman and nearly burnt the city to the ground, so that's why Tim took over. It's almost like... He
was like, no, I really don't want to do this. It's not until he feels like he has to.
Exactly. So, and then he ends up, like, doing something Bruce could never do, and that's to get full control over Gotham. To his detriment.
Like a fascist.
Like, I'm so...
there's something wrong with your Batman when anarchy's making more sense in the opening scene.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's also a tease of Stephanie in the future. Like Tim's still hung up on her.
And she
so
hates.
whatever had happened between them.
Yeah, she's basically like, oh, that monster's not Tim. Tim's been dead for years.
Yeah.
Whoever this is just a shell.
But it still drives him nuts.
It makes me a little worried. Is do they think that the real Tim died when when we saw him die in the start of this run, and when he came back, it's like, no, the real Tim never came back, and it's like he changed then.
Well, I feel like because I think if we just had Dark Batman Tim for a while, maybe, but I feel like because we have young Tim around trying to stop him, presumably immediately at the same time, I think they might not go down that path.
But that was kind of the thing of the old future Tim, was like he kind of tried to change things. He mentions how he had that echo of this same thing, and he tried to change things, yet he still ended up in the same place because he saw that it was right.
Well, but see, the thing with the Titans of Tomorrow story was that whole world had gone dark. And they'd even teased that Connor was a clone there because he had no memories of anything.
Yeah.
And then that set the table going forward after Infinite Crisis and Cassie and Tim and that whole thing. And he becomes Red Robin to strike out on his own. So there are all these themes that are, again, familiar, but just now through this weird echo, which now I have to go dig through my trades and see if I have that one because I can't remember because I need to reread it. Oh, man.
All right, well, I guess that'll wrap up Detective.
Yeah.
Meet Issue Detective this week. So once again, who the hell is Connor?